Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman, you've received an initial briefing, I believe. What do you know at this point?
Well, what we're doing now is we're scouring through our intelligence resources to determine, do we have any imagery from space? Do we have any signals intelligence? Is there anything we can contribute in terms of sharing information about people that may have been on the passenger manifest to shed light on this? But at this point, we still don't know. We don't know the cause. Clearly, terrorism is very much a possibility here. If it does turn out to be terrorism, it signals a whole new level of vulnerability, because we're not talking about a plane leaving from the Middle East. We're talking about one leaving from the middle of Europe. And this is an airport where there have been abundant efforts to improve security since the attacks, before the attacks, and that would mean that there's still a long distance to go. And
was there any kind of warning as you go back over the signals intelligence, any kind of signature or coded messaging that you've been told about?
Nothing that I have seen yet. Now, it may be that we'll find something, some indication that we had earlier that this was talked about, or that in more general terms, sometimes we'll get indications of a threat to aircraft in Europe or in multiple cities, but it may not be more specific than that. But here, if this was something that was placed on the aircraft, you know, one of the leading candidates, of course, is ISIL, and in particular, ISIL in the Sinai has become a very virulent affiliate of ISIL. And yet, if it had the reach to reach into Paris, that would be quite extraordinary, as something beyond what we have seen in terms of at least that ISIL franchise.
What about any possible names that might be being run through the American intelligence mill, the computer checks of people who might have been in the area?
Well, you know, judging from when we have seen these tragedies in the past, it probably will take at least 24 hours before we have gone through all the manifestations to see whether there are any likely suspects in terms of who might have been responsible. But of course, that's just looking at who's on the plane. And as we saw in the attack on the Egyptian aircraft in Sharm el-Sheikh, it could very well be airport employees who either wittingly or unwittingly help people gain access to something that gets on the aircraft. So it's not necessarily someone that's going to show up on the manifest. And of course, we'll be providing whatever intelligence assistance we can to the French and the Egyptians to help in that investigation.
And after what happened at Sharm el-Sheikh, did U.S. intelligence and other U.S. officials go to Egypt and have any kind of reckoning with the Egyptian officials about the level of their security for ground crews and for others, baggage handlers and mechanical experts who work on these planes, before permitting American aircraft to go in and out of Cairo in particular?
We certainly have a relationship with the Egyptian intelligence service, and that's one that's, I think, been profitable for both the United States and Egypt at different times. But I think during certainly the early and even middle part of that investigation, I think a lot of our people were kept at arm's length. Egypt wanted to maintain as much control over the investigation, over the information coming out of that, as it could. So I'm not sure that we have complete visibility or had people necessarily on the ground there to assist with that investigation.
Adam Schiff, Congressman, thank you very much for being with us.